Today is Sunday, Rosh Chodesh Adar, Tafshin Ayin Gimel, the first day of Rosh Chodesh. To be exact, it's Lamed Shvat, and we are in Teres Menachem Sefer Mamar Tafshin Yud Aleph Tafshin Yud Beis, in the Mamar of Lag BaOmer of Tafshin Yud Aleph, Usfartem Lochem, and we are on page Ayin Vov, Ois Gimel. We are in the middle of learning about the birur of the nefesh habamis, the refinement of the animal soul. And the Rebbe explained that when the Yidden, first before we go on, I want to point out that when we spoke about the fact that the korban ha'omer, right, the omer offering that was brought on the second day of Pesach was from grain, and it was from Se'ira. And I used barley and oats interchangeable. In fact, oats and barley are two separate grains. Se'ira is translated as barley. Se'irim is barley. I believe oats is something called shiboilas shul, which is another one of the chameshes minidog and the 5 types of grains, right? But it's not barley. It's oats. Oats is a separate grain. So I just wanted to point out that, in fact, we're talking about se'irim, which is barley. Specifically, I mean, again, we can go into a more detailed analysis of all of this, but generally, when we say se'irim, it is barley, rather than oats, which is shiboilas shul. In any case, we're talking about the fact that there were two types of, there was the birur of what took place on Yetzias Mitzrayim, when the Yidden left Egypt, and over there it says Kiborach Am, they ran away. It was in a hasty way, because at Yetzias Mitzrayim, when the Jews left Egypt, the birur, the refinement of the klipa, was Mamayla Lamata. It was, the initiative came from Hashem, and the idea of Sfiras Ha'omer is the birur Nefesh Habamis, the refinement of the animal soul, Mil Mata Lamayla, on the initiative of Bnei Yisrael. And then it goes into more detail, but we have over here like this. We have the korban ha'omer, the mincha, the korban mincha that was brought on the first day of Sfiras ha'omer, right? And then you have the 49 days of counting the omer, both of which are related to the refinement of the animal soul. So this is what the Rebbe is addressing now, the more detailed refinement of the animal soul, which takes place on the initiative of the Yidden, beginning with bringing the korban ha'omer, the omer offering, and then the counting of them. That's where we're up to. Ois Gimel, chapter 3, page I involved at the top. In more detail, in the refinement of the animal soul, yesh beis inyanim, there are two aspects. Birur hamechin or birur hamidus, the refinement of the intellectual aspects of the animal soul, and the refinement of the emotional aspects of the animal soul. Because as we know, the neshama has what? 10 koiches, and just like the nefesh halakis has 10 koiches, 10 abilities, 10 faculties, which are divided generally into two parts: the intellectual faculty, those aspects that are related to the intellectual aspects of the soul, generally chachma, bin, and das, right? Then you have the emotional aspects of the soul, chagas and nehim, chesed, gvura, tiferes, netzach, hod, yesod, and malchus, the midas, generally. So just like you have that in the nefesh halakis, so too you have it in the nefesh habamis, as the Alter Rebbe explains in Tanya. Right? So in the birur, in the refinement of the animal soul, you also have two aspects. You have the refinement as it relates to the intellectual aspects of the soul, of the animal soul, and the refinement as it relates to what? To the emotional aspects of the animal soul. These two aspects of the omer offering, the korban ha'omer, and the counting of the omer, these two aspects are related. One is related to the refinement of the intellectual aspects of the soul, of the animal soul, and the other one is related to the refinement, of the emotional aspects of the animal soul. Hakravas ha'omer, bringing the omer offering, hu inyan birur hamechin the nefesh habamis. This is the idea of refining the intellectual aspects of the animal soul. Key, because neis of the glolos in shemichas omer ba'min asa oirim machal behema. Shemeir al birur nefesh habamis, because in addition to the general idea which is to the general idea signified by the bringing of the Korban HaOmer from barley, which is animal food, which points to what? To the refinement of the animal soul. That's what we said before. That all Korbanos HaOmer, all Korbanos HaMincha, all Mincha offerings were brought from flour. But all of them, besides two, were from wheat. Whereas only two were brought from barley. Which two? The Saita offering, and also the Korban HaOmer of what? The Mincha of Sfiras Omer, right? Of Omer Dufa. Why? Mentioned before, because by Saita she brings it from animal food, because Asas Amayis Behema, because the actions of the Saita are similar to is animalistic behavior. Similarly, in Korban HaOmer, because we're dealing with what? With the refinement of the animal soul, so it's Meichel Behema. The Korban HaOmer correspondingly is what? Food of an animal. Animal food. So in addition to the fact that generally speaking, Minchas Omer relates to the idea of refining the animal soul, that's why it's Meichel Behema. In animal food itself, there are all sorts of animal food. There's hay or grass or whatever you want to call it. The animal eats other things besides grain, food from grain, right? Why do you choose specifically a grain animal food, an animal food of grain? Because grain is related to the intellect. Dogon, it comes from a type of grain. Yes, an animal food grain, but a grain nonetheless, because grain grain points to intellect. What's the connection between grain and intellect? Is understood from the saying of our sages in Gemara Brachas and in other places. The infant does not know how to cry out, Abba, Father, until it tastes the taste of grain. So Gemara Brachas concerning Eitz Hadas, what type of tree was the Eitz Hadas? The tree of knowledge from which Adam and Chava ate. And one of the opinions was that it was a tree of grain, over there specifically wheat. But it was grain nonetheless. We're talking about grain. Why? That's why it's called Eitz Hadas, the tree of knowledge, because grain allows the child to call out Abba. It gives the child knowledge. Das. So in any case, grain is related to what? To the intellect. So that's why specifically the Korban HaOmer, which is a animal food, it's specifically an animal food related to what? To grain, related to point to the fact that it's related to the intellectual aspects of the animal soul. But what are we talking about? We're talking about a type of intellect which is the intellect of the animal soul. What is the main aspect of the animal soul? Even though the animal soul has what? Both intellect and emotions, but its main inyan, mainly the nefesh habahamis, the animal soul, is midas, is emotions. And the moichin of the animal soul, the intellect of the animal soul, is there to serve the midas. The term for that is known as moichin. Moichin, which is shaykh to midas. There's the intellectual capacity as it is on its own, and then there's the intellectual capacity as it is connected and relates to midas, which is a lower level of intellect. By the nefesh habahamis, it's mainly focused on emotions, and therefore the intellect is there to serve the emotions rather than the other way around, as it would be by the godly soul, nefesh elokis. So therefore, we're talking about the intellect of the animal soul. Since the main aspect of the animal soul is emotions, therefore also the intellect of the animal soul are connected and are related to the emotions. And that is why therefore even that aspect of the Korban HaOmer, or rather the refinement of the aspect that relates to the refinement of the animal soul, to the refinement of the intellectual aspects of the animal soul, is a type of refinement which relates to a type of intellect as it is connected to midas. So therefore it's grain, but what type of grain? Grain from animal food. So the grain aspect signifies the fact that it's connected to what? To the intellect. The fact that it's grain from barley signifies the fact that it's meichin hasheyachin el midas. Clear? So So that is the idea of bringing the mincha offering, which is the idea of refining what? The intellectual aspects of the animal soul. Well, after the Omer offering was brought, once we've dealt with the refinement of the intellectual capacities, the nefesh habahamis of the animal soul, then we come to the refinement of the emotional aspects of the animal soul. How? Through the counting of the Omer, the counting of the days. And how did we count? Lemimni yomi or lemimni shavui. We counted both the days and also what? The weeks.
How does the actual bringing of the barley refine the animal, the intellect? What's the?
It's not the actual bringing. It's just like in every other korban. What's the idea of bringing a korban?
But why doesn't it? How can you refine the intellect when its source is the animal soul, is in the emotions? I mean, you would think if you cut out the source, it'll dry up because since its main.
We're not talking about cutting it away. We're talking about working with it and transforming it.
But how can you transform
Birur,
it when
not-
its source
not
is still
bitter.
when its source is still raw? You would think it'd go the other way around. In other words, the question remains.
Well, let's put it this way. Generally, first of all, you're asking two questions. First of all, the idea of korbanos in general. What's the idea of korbanos in general? As well, it's something which the Friedrich discusses in Masay Lagani, in the Mamar Usfartem Lochem. You bring an animal, and that's it. What is it? You shecht an animal, and everything is done and dusted. It's the idea. It's the actual physical bringing of the korban was the tail end of the process. Behind this physical act of bringing the korban, there's a whole seder aveda, right? You had to focus on the idea. There was there had to be kavanah of the person that brought the korban, and so on and so forth. So really and truly, when we look at the actual physical act of bringing the korban, it's the actualization of something far more deep and far more rich and significantly greater and more in quality-wise, than just the physical act of bringing the korban, right? So, in a sense, what we're talking about when we say bringing this korban, this is a marker for what's really going on over here. It's a physical manifestation of a spiritual process. That's what a korban is. And similarly, when we talk about the korban ha'omer, right? Yes, you're right that the main aspects of the nefesh habahamis are the midas, and therefore, as the Rebbe is going to explain quite at length, the korban ha'omer you brought only on day one. Then you spent 49 days counting the omer. What's that? That's focusing on the midas. So the main birur indeed is with what? Refinement is you're working with the midas. But you have to deal with the moichin also. So you bring a korban ha'omer. But you're right in the fact that the main focus is on the midas. But we're not talking about removing the moichin. It's much like if you're talking to a child, right? So you explain to the child, and when you want the child to behave in a certain way, it's not enough just to explain to the child. The child will understand, but it won't necessarily click with the behavior of the child. Then you have to take other measures. Sometimes you have to take more strict measures. There are consequences. If you'll misbehave, then you'll be deprived of X, Y, and Z. If you will behave, you'll be rewarded, right? And then sort of with this combination of, on the one hand, explaining, and on the other hand, disciplining, at some point, hopefully, it clicks. Okay. And then you become a mensch.
In support of what you're saying, we only refine the emotions in counting the anger. We don't refine mind.
Correct. That's the point that I'm making is that the korban ha'omer was only on day one.
Yeah.
So you deal with the meichel, but the main birur, if you look at the main idea of Sfiras Eimer, the main idea of what we do in Sfiras Eimer is working with the midas, and not only working with the midas, as the Rebbe is going to explain at length as we go in. Further on, there is the idea that's the point that Rebbe starts now. We have another couple of minutes, but I'll try to say it first balpeh because it's a bit of a subtle idea. When we count Eimer, we count 49 days, and as the Rebbe says, we count days and we count weeks. Hayom yom, let's say Hayom Shiva Yomim. Today is 7 days. Sheheim Shavua Echad L'Eimer. So we count both the days and the weeks. Why do we have to count the days and the weeks? What is that beruchnius in the spiritual sense? Counting the weeks, a week means one midah. but a whole parts of the whole seed of the midah. The midah as it is multiplied by 7. But when you say today is 1 week, you're only focusing on the midah as a general midah. You don't break it down into the details of chesed shebechesed and gvura shebechesed and tiferet shebechesed. It's chesed, for example, the first week. Hayom shtei shavuos, you'll say it's chesed and gvura, right? Once you say hayom yom echad, right? Or if you say hayom shmeina yomim, hayom shiva shein shavu echad, v'yom echad omer, you're saying, okay, we've done chesed, and now we're into chesed shebegvura, right? So days, counting days, means focusing on breaking down the midah into the most detail that you can. Counting the weeks means focusing on the midah in general. In terminology of Chassidus, counting the week refers to the refinement of the midah bechlolos, in general. Counting the days refers to a process of refinement of the midah beprotius, in detail. Now it's not, so if that's the case, you could ask, what do you have to count the weeks for? Just count the days and automatically you have the weeks. If you have the details, you also have the sum of the details, right? But in another sikha, the Rebbe explains that in bidur in general, there are 2 types of bidur. As we just said, there's a klolos dike bidur, there's a general bidur, a general refinement, and then there's a detailed refinement. And it's not just a difference in that this is general and this is detailed. It's a difference also in the process, in how you affect the bidur. A general bidur means that you're not so concerned about the details. A particular bidur means you're very concerned about the details. And each one necessitates the activation of a different power within the soul, a different level within the soul. A general bidur comes from above, so to speak. So even though you're talking about the bidur of the soul, it means activating higher levels of the soul. For example, let's break it down, makif and pnimi, or etzem hanefesh, the essence of the soul, and the aspects of the soul that clothe themselves consciously within us, right? So when we say birur kloli, it means we are activating aspects of the soul which are beyond normal manifestation into our consciousness. When we say birur prati, a detailed refinement, we're talking about activating aspects of our soul which are within our state of consciousness. This is going to become very important, this point, in how the Rebbe is going to articulate the birur kloli and the birur prati, counting of the days and counting of the weeks. Because there's actually a machlekes whether the counting of the Omer in our days is midiraisa, is a biblical obligation, or it's only midrabanon, a rabbinic obligation nowadays as a memory to what we did in the Beis Hamikdash. And there's one of the Rishonim that says he differentiates between counting the days and counting the weeks. That counting the weeks is indeed midrabanon. That's sort of the compromise that he makes. And counting the days is midiraisa. That's a biblical obligation even today. And the Rebbe is going to explain that beruchnius in the spiritual sense why indeed that's the case. But a mitzvah more about that tomorrow.